Okay, here we go. So, for the people who don't know, my name is Myra Juan Pablo. I was in a car accident about a year ago, exactly a year ago actually. I am recording this the day before just because I know I can't do this the day of. I had asked to see if there's any questions that I can answer for people who are curious on my new lifestyle. Essentially, it'd be a new lifestyle for anyone who goes through a traumatic experience, so anyone who gets amputated. So it's like a new way of living, and I have a couple questions that I would like to answer. And one of them is, do you think it's harder physically or mentally? And for the longest time, I think this entire year I probably would have said physically it was harder, but these past couple of weeks, as my anniversary has gotten closer, I do have to say that it's harder mentally, just because I think that I put my emotions off for so long. So I think I ignored my emotions for so long that it all started to just pile up and all started coming out like all at once. And so I think that's why I think I have to say it's harder mentally rather than physically. But everyone's different. So I can only speak from my experience. Someone asked, what is your reflexes like? Like, do you still feel your leg? Meaning phantom pain. I think this is like the worst of it all, is that I do still feel my leg there. So I'm above the knee amputee on my left leg. And so what that means is I no longer have my knee. The amputation was above the knee, and it's pretty self-explanatory, but I figured I'd answer that. And so the phantom pain is very real. I don't think people realize that it would be such a big thing, but it is. I could be laying down, or I can be sitting down, or whatever the case may be, and I will randomly get like sharp pains, or as if my leg is in pain, and even though it's not there. And so essentially what happens is your brain is wired to those nerves and all those muscles that when it gets cut off, it still sends those signals as if you're still in pain, even though it's not there. My reflexes, so I would say, since I can still feel my leg, I sometimes feel like I can move it, but I can't, obviously. And so what I feel is that like my leg is just stiff, or my foot is just stiff, and so I feel like I can sway it side to side, but I don't feel like I can move the actual foot, which is so weird. Like our brains are so weird and mysterious, and I wish this wasn't part of it, to be honest, but it's fine. How often do you have bad days? When you do have a bad day, what helps you get through it? I usually don't typically have bad days, or at least throughout this whole year I didn't have many bad days until all my emotions piled up on me. So it all kind of just came out like vomit. Like all my emotions were falling out. They were uncontrollable for me. Like I could not get them under control, and so I was having breakdowns after breakdowns after another day, and then like any little thing was triggering me, and I'm still having those days, and it sucks because I think my biggest thing is that I want to protect everyone that I care about from seeing me have a bad day. So what do? I like bottle up my feelings, and so I'll just put it on the back burner for as long as I can. And it wasn't until recently that the people that truly do care about me let me know that it's okay to have those bad days, even though I personally don't like expressing my emotions. I'm one to just put it on the back burner for as long as I can until I couldn't anymore. And so how often am I having them? About every single day so far, just because that anniversary is creeping up on me, and it's just been taking a toll on me. But I've figured that it's okay to reach out to the people who care about you, and thankfully I have a handful of people that actually truly care about me, and I'm allowed to break down to. And it's very hard for me to break down, because when I do, it gets really ugly. And I think that's the side that I don't like letting people see, because I want to be the one, I want to be that warrior that everyone sees. I want to be as strong as everyone thinks I am, when in reality, like, I am like fighting every single day. And it's super hard, because it's not only a physical battle, it's also a mental battle, and I think the mental battles are the worst to go through. On to the next question. It is, what is the hardest part about this? And it wasn't until recently that I discovered what the hardest part is. The hardest part is letting go. It's accepting the new lifestyle that I have. And what I mean by that is that I find myself reflecting and being like, oh, a year ago I was doing this with the fire department. Oh, a year ago I was driving this distance. Or a year ago I didn't have this trauma. A year ago I didn't have this PTSD. A year ago I wasn't dealing with these mental battles. Like, I had never really experienced such a mental fight. And I find myself reflecting and saying, like, wishing that I could go back to that day, and wishing that I could change everything, when I know I can't. Like, that's just the reality of it that I can't seem to accept yet. And I'm hoping that with time it'll get easier, and it'll be easier to accept the new reality that I'm living, even though I don't want to, if I'm being honest. Next question is, how was driving mentally? Was it hard getting into a car? Is there still a challenge? So driving mentally was super nerve-wracking. So I want to say that I couldn't get myself, I was getting super anxious and worked up for that first time, that initial drive that I was going to do. So that for my first time ever driving in town, it was so nerve-wracking. I think, like, my palms got super sweaty. I was like super anxious, and getting into a car for the first time was super hard. Like, I was in the hospital for about a month, and having that drive home was super nerve-wracking. It would just pile up, and I think the biggest thing is like that trauma and that PTSD that I have. So when I'm in a car and there's like a slight movement because of the wind, or because of any little thing, or like a curve that I don't know of, or I don't know, like, it's just very like traumatizing. And so I'll get super anxious. I'll kind of have like a small panic attack, and it used to be really bad. Thankfully I've slowly gotten used to it. I've finally driven out of town for the first time. I've driven home from being out of town for the first time. And like, I know not many people are gonna see that as like a huge accomplishment, but it was for me, because the PTSD really takes a whole toll on your life, and it almost kind of lets you live in like fear. And I'm not one to be like super like full of fear or any of that, at least not from before the accident. And after the accident, I want to say it's been super hard. It's just those small triggers that really take you back, and it like floods you with so many emotions. It's not even funny. Like, it's crazy on how much of a difference it makes. Next question is, after this, did your perspective change on life? And I think this is like probably one of the hardest questions to answer, just because I don't want to answer the dark reality of it, or at least my dark side of it. Yes, this did change my perspective on life. And what I mean by that is that I was okay in the beginning of the year. After I got home from the hospital, I was putting up a front. I was always smiling. I was never really letting anyone see my like struggles. And so I was posting like the bright side of it, like the new updates and whatnot, and like the process and everything. But I want to say the biggest thing was probably, it kind of like I kind of lived in anger without even knowing I was living in anger. Like, the thing holding me back was my anger towards life, and it was just horrible because I didn't want to live in anger. I'm not one to really, I was always so bright and full of sunshine, or always smiling, and always putting other people's emotions before my own. When all of this happened, I was still doing that without knowing that I was setting myself up for failure. And I think that was the biggest thing that like really took a toll on me, was that I was living in denial. And this whole year has almost completely been living life in denial. And it's been so harsh on me, and I don't want anyone to feel like I was doing it for them. I was just not ready to accept it. I was always one to look at life in the positive. And then after this, I was like, well, damn, like, what did I do in life that made me deserve this? What did I do to deserve all of this? Why am I still here? Like, I shouldn't even be here. And as like harsh as that sounds, I've slowly realized that I'm here for a bigger reason that I haven't figured out yet. And I'm trying to be as patient as I can be, because I don't want to be that person that looks ungrateful for being alive, for God leaving in this world, because I'm also a human being where it's okay to feel that way, even though we don't want to admit it. Some of us don't feel like it's okay to say that, but it really is. Sometimes we all have those bad days, and some of us have them more than others, and it's okay to have those bad days. And it took me this long to realize that it's okay to have bad days. it's not always sunshines and rainbows. And I think it took me so long to realize that. And now that I have, it's been storms. And it sucks. I can't say it kind of sucks, because it really sucks. And it's been horrible on my end lately, but I know when it's sunshine again, it'll be amazing. And I don't know how long I'm gonna have sunshine for until the next storm. And it'll be okay, because after this year, I'll be able to say, dang, a year ago, Myra was still in the hospital bed. A year ago, Myra didn't know what she was going to do with her life. A year ago, Myra wasn't even sure if she was going to be able to be a part of the fire department anymore. And now, a year later, I am walking, not as great as I want to be, but that's a whole different story. I'm kicking ass, excuse my language, in therapy. I have never felt stronger in my life, but I've also never felt weaker. And it's okay, because the reason I feel so weak is because of the trauma and the PTSD that I have. But I've also never felt stronger because I'm pushing my body to the limit where I never knew I would be able to. Okay, so my camera just died. And I'm so upset about it, because I was really getting into the video, into the questions. And I lost my train of thought. But, I think I was saying how I've never felt weaker, but I've also never felt stronger. And it's all because of the situation that I'm in. And so I guess my point is that life continues. And even though I wish my life was the way it used to be, it never will be. And I think the harsh reality is that I will never be that same girl before the car accident, as much as I want to be. And for the people who knew me before the car accident, I thank you for allowing me to feel as if I still am that girl. Because for the longest time, I've needed it. But moving forward, things are different. And I want you to know that it's okay to see the new Myra. And it's okay to let go of that old Myra. Because we all have to. I have one last question that I need to answer. And the last question is, has it been hard learning how to walk or doing daily activities? So learning how to walk again was hard. And it still is for me, just because in order for an amputee to walk, you have to trust the prosthesis. I haven't been able to learn how to trust it, or at least my prosthetic. And I think part of it is the flaws that it has. So my socket isn't properly fitted to my limb or stump, whichever you would like to call it. So it's not properly fitted to that, and so essentially it makes it harder for me to walk. And then Not having my knee also plays a factor into that, because you have to think about, you think a lot harder about walking, because after you learn how to walk when you are a year old, it comes naturally. It's not something we think about every day, versus it's something I have to think about every single day. One day it'll be naturally to me and I won't have to think about it as much. But as of right now, I have to think about it, and so I have to think about all the weight that I add on to the foot in order for the knee to bend. All the little things that I have to think about, whether there's a slant in the sidewalk that kind of makes me feel lopsided, versus when it's your two normal legs, it's very different. Your body kind of adjusts to that, versus the prosthesis isn't really allowed to adjust to that, or at least mine isn't. Daily activities, I am restricted on that, mainly because I haven't been fully stable on the prosthetic, so I have to learn how to trust it in order for me to get rid of my crutch, which is something that I use every day. And I technically don't need it, if I'm being honest. It's more of like comfort for me, so I feel a lot more comfortable with it, and like I feel like I walk better with it. I feel like I'm safer with it when I really don't need it. Yeah, I still walk slightly lopsided, but if I really wanted to, I think I could get rid of it. Daily activities, I haven't been to the gym in a year, and part of that is that the prosthetic isn't fitted to me properly, but some of my fire department family has let me know that it's just an excuse I'm making. And if I'm being honest, it really is. And part of that is that I'm not fully confident in what I look like in the prosthesis. So what I mean by that is that the self-love that I used to have for myself isn't there like it used to be. But I think if I really commit to myself and start going to the gym, I will build that self-love again. And that is a plan that I plan on doing here soon. Meaning probably get off my ass and go tomorrow, because I've been putting it off for so long and I'm only holding myself back. Yeah, I don't know what necessarily, like, what kind of daily activities you guys are interested in, or which ones you guys want to know about, but yeah, so this is my first video, and I plan on making more. How soon? I don't know. If you guys have any ideas, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys either comment about it or just private message me if you want to, or if you'd like, or sometimes you can just private message me and ask me there. That way you don't feel like you're being too nosy or whatnot. I'm getting comfortable with this, and one day I will look back on this day and it won't be as negative to me as it is this first year. Yeah, and so I am ending this video here. So God bless, and thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this video. And I hope maybe one day I can help someone you come across, or someone who comes across this video that is an amputee as well. Bye.
Hey God, I'm in a lot of pain right now, and I'm super confused with what you're doing with my life, but I'm trusting you, Father. I know you have a plan for me, and I'm ready to follow it. So please, lead me on the path that you have for me and help me stay on course, because I need you more than ever.